Welcome to Future Hood Movie Gems. My name is Jordan. Jerry! Wait a minute, Sally, I think I hear something. And then I've got my co-host, Nick.
I didn't prepare a quote this time, but what's good?
What's good?
First off,
okay, there's not a lot of quotes.
I could just scream.
I know. Seriously, for like 30 minutes straight, she is just screaming. The ending,
the whole last 15 minutes.
Yes.
Was very.
When she gets out of the house finally, like breaks the window, I felt like I could hear like a ringing in my ear because it was just nonstop screaming. And then finally she's like, booking it, which is one of the most stressful scenes ever. Oh geez, I'm getting right into it. So Nick, I believe this was your first time. What was it like watching it for the first time?
You know what? I don't think it was actually my first time because.
Oh really?
Obviously. This movie's been out since the early 70s. I would have watched it probably at some time in the last 20, 30 years.
Okay.
And I remember scenes of it. I remember a couple scenes, and I think one of the scenes I remember is, I don't think I watched it in its entirety or even knew that I was watching it. Maybe 10 years ago, I woke up from a nap and it just happened to be on, and I was watching 5-10 minutes of it. Because I just remember these certain scenes very vividly. But yeah. Nonetheless, but you can definitely tell it's from the 1970s. I mean, the acting is exactly what you would expect it to be.
Yeah.
Just the words, they use. Just I don't know, man. It actually started out pretty good, and then but I felt like from the very start, I'm like, this is actually a short movie, but they're going to drag scenes on, like the whole car ride scene with the crazy guy in there when the whole thing was happening, like pretty much the first 15 minutes. And that scene is just so long. And it's like, first off, why'd they pick that dude up? They even said he was creepy.
I knew you would hate that. Especially when he takes the guy's knife and cuts himself with it. I know you'd be like, I don't want the knife, keep it. He got his blood all over that knife.
We should have just... Anyways, yeah, I mean, it's just the whole thing was just like, what the heck? And I don't know. The first 15 minutes and the last 15 minutes, I just felt like just kind of... just dragged on, man. It was just annoying.
The last 15 minutes were... I mean, well, if you're talking about when she's in the house, yeah, that dragged on way too long. Oh my gosh.
Like at the table, while they were just sitting at the table.
Yes.
I'm like, why does this just keep going on and on? Actually, you know what? I'm not going to say I hate the movie. I could see how people could like it. Whatever. It's classic and it's...
Oh, I still love it, yeah.
Whatever. I did like one scene, and that was the very last 15 seconds when he was doing the chainsaw dance. I rewinded it a couple times to watch him redo it. I'm like, wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, with the sunset. Or was it a sunrise? It was a sunrise.
Well, I don't know. But whatever he was doing this little...
Well, because she was there all night, so the sunrise.
Yeah. Yep. And he was just doing this little dance in the road after she got away. You can tell it was very coordinated.
It was so good. And I mean, that whole scene where as soon as she jumps through the glass, I love that segment. So there's two segments that I'll getting into that. But the first time I saw this, also, I had a very similar feeling, Nick, because at the time I'd seen it, I was hoping for more of a slicker film. But yes, it's very gritty and grindhousey looking. It's very grainy. It's got the old classic dialogue. And the first time I wasn't really into that. And then by the end, I just felt so gross because as she's in the house, screaming hysterically, they got all these tight shots of her eye, which now I actually enjoy that her eye, just those really insanely close-ups of her eye, and just the complete hysteria of that moment. I really enjoyed it on the rewatch a lot, but just because it's really fun to see kind of where it all began and to see Tobe Hooper and his style. I think he's really good at doing suspense. The same segments that kind of drove you crazy, I loved. When she's running from him and he's slashing at her back and then he gets hit by that semi and then the guy... Can we talk about the guy who's gets out to help her, and then when he sees the chainsaw guy, he books it back in the car, and then I just don't know why he just didn't floor it and try to take off. Instead he gets out and then he just runs and he doesn't stop running.
Well, for a second I thought it was a comedy because there was a lot of comical moments, that being one of them, and so many other. Just the dude in the wheelchair, that guy was just comical. His acting was just comical, and his pouting, yeah. and when he was in the house and he was pouting. He just done that and he wheels away and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so...
Poor Franklin. I mean, I get it though, because because all his friends are like, oh, come on, have a good time out in the summer house. And then he's like, can't even get up the stairway. And he's just like all upset the whole time. I mean, I would be upset, dude, if I was in a wheelchair. Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
If I was in a wheelchair. I wouldn't have gone, period, actually. Probably not, but let's go check out a creepy house in Texas. No.
Well, it was his house, though.
Well.
I know. Poor Franklin. Never can get ahead.
Franklin.
Nick, 2 favorite things on the hip.
Well, I named one of them.
Oh,
right.
you meant, him dancing. Okay.
Him dancing. And that's it.
What? Nick?
Here's what I'm going to say about this movie. I'm like, okay, it was just...
You said the intro was good. You mentioned the intro being good. Like those...
Yeah.
They use the same sounds in like the Saw trailers.
That first scene, it was just so weird, and like the guy was just so weird, it kind of drew me in for a little bit. And then when they actually got like to the part where they basically when they first ran into Leatherface, and all 3 people, basically more than half the people,
get eliminated in seconds.
Pretty quickly and all the same way. It almost made me feel more like whack-a-mole, because they're literally just walking right through the front door into his thing, and he just whacks them on the head, and they fall, and then and the next one comes, same thing, whacks him. This time, then he hung one up, and then the other guy just runs right, whack, boom, and then he starts freaking out, and I'm like, is this what this is gonna be?
Oh, so they set it up for that too. If you listen to the guy talk about, he's like, the air gun's no good. You use the hammer, and he's like, and they squirm and they twitch, and then they stop after you hit him again. Like, and that same thing happened when he hit the person with the sledgehammer. I don't know.
I'm not saying it was a terrible movie. I'm just saying.
Well, I know.
The acting and all of it was so distracting, and I get it. I can understand how someone like you, Jordan, can appreciate this movie. And here's the thing. Here's what you got to understand. As I was watching it and you were talking about those specific shots, going the close-up of the eye and just some of the various things they did, I can see that could be cool for some people, and some people could appreciate it, and I'm sure it's actually really cool. It's just doing nothing for me. Other than realizing that I'm like, somebody might like this. I can see how somebody could like this, but I'm like, just get on with the action, man. Let's go.
I don't know.
I just felt like I just had to go through so much for the payoff, and it never came. Except for the dance, which was the last 15. You could have just said, Nick, watch the last 15 seconds, and that would have been... And then I probably would have told you this was a great movie.
I gotta rate the movie in the last 15 seconds. Good movie. You didn't even like when the guy got run over by the semi? I just thought that was so great.
Yeah, and then, you could tell it was like a dummy in there and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like, I get it,
that's
man.
how they do it back then.
Dude, yeah, I know, but...
It's the same, reminds me...
It's just comical, man.
Well,
it's all comical.
I grew up watching Indiana Jones, the last Raiders of the Lost Ark, and there's the scene where the guy's holding onto the front and he's like fighting Indiana Jones, and he falls underneath the wheels, and then he's like, oh! And like, I just love film trickery to make things work, especially back then. Like, I'll take practical effects way over CGI, which is why when we get into this new film from Netflix, like the end scene of that one, when she's standing there and he cuts her head off, it's like so fake. And so I'd rather see, they both are fake, but I'd rather see a dummy get smashed than a CGI head get cut off. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. I know you would. And I'm sure there are others that also share your opinion.
Yeah.
But it's just comical for someone like me to watch that. And it's just like... And then, they don't actually really show anybody, dying. It's like they're always showing, his back... Like when he's getting the guy in the wheelchair, you just see the guy, you feel the flashlight in his hand, and then you just see his back. You don't actually see anything, at least
exactly.
Some of the newer stuff though, you see stuff and it's a little more.
I know, but I love that kind of stuff because then it's like, oh, I could make something like this. I feel like this is like a high school production film, but it's a little bit better made though, because just there's some shots that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. When she gets up after the first person dies, and then she gets up off that swing, and it's that low shot of her walking towards the house. That just gives me chills. I love it. It's so good. And personally, the end scene, my 2 favorite parts is that end scene, and actually the beginning has such a great intro, just the flashes of the different dead bodies and them finding skeletons everywhere. I love that. I think it's so great because it's just so many practical effects and all these dead bodies and stuff. I loved it. But I do agree, it drags on a little bit too long. When she's in the house,
does drag on.
Just inside the house, it is a very tight 90 minutes, but it's like...
Dude, you know what? That's what's shocking about this movie is that it's only 90 minutes and it felt like it was 2.5 hours. I was like, come on, honestly, and they could have made this movie like 45 minutes long, and it might have been a little better then. It might have been a little better. But I get it. If I was you, I would like this movie, but I'm not you. I'm me, and I'm not saying I hated it. Wasn't miserable watching it, but won't purposely watch it again.
I go back and forth on it. Like the first time, like I said, I didn't love it. I had a lot of similar feelings. Second time watching it, I loved it because now that I appreciate film and kind of the roots of Leatherface, I just think it's really exciting to see kind of how it all began and then why there's so many sequels after it. Do you recommend it, Nick? And then we'll get into the second.
If I was you, I would recommend it. If there's anybody I'm going to recommend it to, I mean, this movie's been out for so long, like, they're going to be like, what talking about? Or... I've seen it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, exactly. But you're a fan. I mean, I'm a fan of slasher flicks. I don't really know if you're a fan of slasher flicks. I think you just like movies. But you did enjoy the new ones. Would you say you're a fan of like?
I like slasher flicks. Okay, I couldn't get the words out of my mouth.
But you grew up watching more like Freddy, right?
Yeah, I watched that old stuff when I was a kid. You know, because that's what I threw on. I don't know, whatever. So I was laying in the bin, put a movie on.
Well, I love the Nightmare on Elm Street
horror movies. Yeah. Oh yeah, but give you nightmares as a kid. I tell you what.
Sure.
What was the question?
Oh no, I was just saying if you recommend it. You said if you were me, but what would you?
No. No, I mean I don't know. Whatever. I'd be like, hey, you just watch the original Chainsaw, and then people are like, did you like it? And I'd be like, nah. I mean, you might. I have better things to watch. The second one, okay, not the second one.
Wait. So I just want to make the caveat, like, I would only recommend it if you're, like, into, like, film and you have an appreciation for it, and if you are a fan of slasher flicks, because you have to be, like, a big fan of horror.
Or if you just want to watch something after, like, smoking a beezy, maybe. Maybe with a few people so you can like all laugh together and it can become a comedy and just like because it's so goofy. And I think they even use the word goofy. I don't know. It's just that 70s language, man.
I don't know. It's a classic horror.
Clothes too. I felt like I was in the 70s.
Now we're going into Netflix's new Chainsaw Massacre,
which I have so many nitpicks about.
Right?
Obviously, let's be real. Obviously, yes, it was a terrible movie. And its ratings show it, but I like it.
Yeah.
I did a little bit.
I see the problem
up until like after it got all done, I liked it a little less. When I put it all together, I was like, that's kind of stupid.
Well, I wanted to like this. This was my problem. I was loving the visuals. Like, I'm like, oh shoot. I'm like, Nick's gonna love that.
I did like the visuals.
Yeah, because there's some great scenes. Like, a lot of those were in the trailer. Like, the scene where there's like all the flowers and he just like pops his head up. I was like, oh yeah, that's a dope shot. And there's plenty of like really, really well lit scenes. I just love, she's like approaching the car and you see her silhouette. Like, there's a lot of cool moments where I'm like, oh wow, like this director definitely has style. And I looked into it. So Fedez, however you say his name, same guy that did the Evil Dead remake and he did Don't Breathe, wrote this. And I feel like he struggles when he writes his stuff. Like, I want to love his work so much because he always makes really fun, great visuals. But I feel like where he struggles the most is his characters. Like, I just do not care about anybody. See, that's why the classic's so awesome, because I cared about these kids. Like, yes, they got picked off super quick, and you could say some of them were comical, like Frederick. Is his name Frederick? That's the kid in the wheelchair? Franklin. Yeah. You could say, Franklin. So Franklin, like, you could say he's a bit comical. But I cared for those people. Compared to these new ones, I didn't care for anybody. I was kind of hoping, and I feel like with a lot of these sequels, especially for, like, Jason movies, you seem to always be rooting for the killer. Like, this whole time, I'm just like, I hope all these kids die. Because, I don't know, did you care for anybody? I did like the kid that he was like polluting the air with his car. Remember we were driving a car once and you're like, oh, look at this guy. And and you try to get a video of it because there's just pollution going everywhere out of his car.
Dude, no, man, there was, because I've never saw it. It wasn't just exhaust, man. You guys should have saw this. This car was just every time I don't know if it was on fire or what the heck was going on.
And it was making you so mad. It was hilarious.
It was just because I didn't want to get close to him, breathe that in. He was literally creating clouds that were like making cars behind it disappear. And it's just this smog of whatever.
Yeah, and there's all these little kids walking through it, and you were getting so upset.
That guy needed to get off the road, dude. I'm like, what are you doing? You gotta get off the road, man.
But I actually enjoyed that one character because they started to give him a little bit of a personality when he was talking to that girl. And then, I was gonna ask you, do you think he ended up, or do you think?
I don't know, man. I kind of was doing other stuff while I was watching this one. It was just certain scenes drew me back in, you know. Okay. And I just remember how many times he got shot and stabbed and drowned, but still lived. So that's all my nitpicks. He should have died a long time ago. And why didn't the chick,
but he's kind of like
cop lady, just blow his brains out when she walked in the room? He was just sitting on his bed staring right at her.
That is my biggest nitpick. That was so dumb. And that's technically the girl from this movie, right? The original. That was her.
That was her?
Yeah, that was that old woman was supposed to be the girl that escaped. Which
I guess now that I think back, it all makes sense.
Because that photo she kept looking at, if you remember, it was all her friends. They tried to tie it into the original.
That's the thing is I watched, this newest Netflix one first, and then I watched the old one. So I didn't put that together at first.
If they're trying to say that that's the same Leatherface, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. He was a different kid. I don't see the connection besides the fact that, are there more than... Because they tried to connect it to that universe, but it didn't really make sense because Could you connect them? Because now that you've watched them back to back, I feel like that creates more problems than solutions. I don't know, just nitpicking here. But like you said, the biggest nitpick was her standing in the room. She's like, you don't even recognize me. First off, based on the character, I don't feel like she would be hunting down. I think she would want to be as far away from Leatherface as possible. I can't see her wanting to get revenge, but maybe. Who do I know? I mean, what do I know? Did you feel like she would be the type to go back for revenge? Maybe.
Well, the fact that she lived so close for so long, that didn't make sense. And she was a cop in a town just right next to the whatever town didn't exist anymore. That's the first thing. I don't know, man. I don't know. That whole thing just didn't make sense.
Yeah, there's just so many times they're all of a sudden they're running hysterically, and then all of a sudden they're oh, I'm tough and brave now, and I'm gonna kill you. And then they're and then they run, and then they come back and I'm gonna kill you. I just didn't understand all that. It was so many times they're
I just love how he dodges the bullets with the chainsaw, and he's in.
Yes, did you see that? He literally blocked bullets from a shotgun with his chainsaw. That almost made me laugh out loud. That was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was goofy.
Yeah, and then her hitting him with his own chainsaw into the water. I don't know. I was kind of rolling my eyes at that. I don't know, Nick.
They should have made sure the job was finished.
Yeah, I know. It's no wrong turn, that's for sure.
It's not right. It's not wrong turn. No, that's for sure.
No.
But it's all right. It's whatever. Got a 30% rating. So, take it for what it is.
Exactly.
Again, if you smoke a blunt and you need something to watch and you're with some friends, throw it on. Comical.
The original is not a good background movie, though. It's just lots of screaming.
It is a lot of screaming. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just not sure how I felt about that movie. I just know I didn't quite like it.
Yeah.
Didn't hate it, but I didn't quite like it. But I wasn't really either in the middle either, so I don't know.
Yeah, if you have nothing to watch on Netflix and you like slasher flicks, I guess. Because I'm not as big a fan of the Leather series. I still watch them all and enjoy them. But I don't know. Like I said, I really wanted to enjoy this one. And there's still moments I did, but I just didn't care for anybody. And I was just all right, let's get back to Leatherface because he looks so dope.
When you texted me and you were like, oh, the new chainsaw's meh. I was like, man, I'm probably going to like it then.
That's funny. Yeah, I actually kept thinking, I'm Nick would like this. Visually speaking, it's fun, so.
Mm-hmm. I have a simple movie mind. You just gotta move fast and go hard, and that's all you need from me in a movie. Move fast and go hard. Boom. Don't waste my time. Okay? Just don't waste it. I'm impatient. That's the problem. That's why I don't get into like a lot of movies, because I'm so impatient. I'll be sitting there and I will literally, if it's not fast paced and it's not keeping me going, or it doesn't have some type of surprise, I will just lose interest so fast. And once I do it, that's when I get up and I do something else. That's why I get so much stuff done, because tons of movies just don't amuse me.
Yeah.
Also, I'm trying to fall asleep. Then a slow movie's perfect, but then I never wound up actually watching those because I just fall asleep to them.
What have you watched lately, Nick, besides this double feature?
Why are you laughing?
I don't know. It's just these movies. I don't know. I'm like, oh shoot, maybe we should have talked about Brickleberry or something.
Oh, dude, Brickleberry is amazing.
It is, isn't it?
I haven't. I have to rewatch that. I don't know. Other than these two, I just kind of was like going back watching some of the old Ozark stuff since we talked about it on the last pod, and I was like, oh yeah, it's actually pretty good. So
yeah,
I'm not watching all the episodes, but I've just kind of been, when I've been home, playing through some of those. I love Ozark.
Yeah, I've been rewatching Dexter still. And
Stop.
Still just as good.
That's next.
I just finished season 1. Oh my gosh, amazing show. I saw The Invitation, which is crazy, Nick. I'm sure we'll eventually do it on the podcast. I started the TV show Clerks. Not as good as the movie. It's a cartoon. And the movie's really good. I don't have anything else to say about the show. And I'm still watching One Punch Man. It's amazing. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. I've rewatched the first season twice, and then I'm just about to finish the second season. Oh, and then I watched Maniac, which has got Frodo. I should probably remember his name. Elijah Wood. And it's the remake, because apparently there's an original and then there's a trilogy, and they remade it, and it's like a first-person movie where he just runs around and scalps girls and then uses their wigs on mannequins. It has a great soundtrack. I will give it that. I still enjoyed it somewhat. I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I've seen too many of these like serial killer manic movies. Like I kind of need a break from that.
Yeah. Why don't you watch something nice?
I started Yellowstone. Everybody's been talking about how amazing Yellowstone is, and it just is so boring. Oh my gosh.
What is that, new?
Yeah, they're on like season 3 or 4.
What is it about? Never heard of it.
The idea is like people that own land are starting to sell it to big companies that are making it into houses, like people that own ranches and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I guess it's very real. It's kind of what's going on today, so.
Sounds boring. You're right.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking boring.
Not for me.
No.
Next.
I've been watching Vice Principals, which is really funny. Nick, I've already mentioned this, but have you seen Wind River yet?
No.
Watch it. Nick, you will love it.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's an amazing revenge movie, and if you watch it, you got to talk about it on the pod. It's so good.
Did it come out past 2001?
Yeah, no, it's very new, very slick. 2017.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's a movie about revenge. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Is it so freaking good? I don't want to spoil it, but he's like a sniper. It's dope. Yeah, you're going to like it.
All right.
Because you like revenge.
I'll check it out.
It's up your alley.
Did you enjoy your birthday yesterday?
Yes.
Big 31. Everybody, Jordan is 31 years old. What a old son of a gun.
You're 31 too.
And no, I'm not.
You're a month older than me.
I'm not.
And I bought a lot of movies and watched a lot of movies on my birthday.
Of course you did. Did you eat hot dogs too? Or pizza?
I had pizza. Papa Murphy's. Oh, it's so good. Thin crust.
Did you get it yourself?
Yeah. Ate it alone. No, I think I ate it with my wife. I bought the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation because it's the last of the series that I haven't seen. I mean, I haven't finished Leatherface, but I started that one. It wasn't very good. So there's a lot of Chainsaw movies. Nick, I was going to ask you, of all the Chainsaw movies you've seen, which one is your favorite?
I only remember 3 of them. The 2 that I just saw and the one that came out 10-something years ago? Which one was that one?
Well, they had 2. They had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, but I doubt you've seen that one, which is made by the same guy as the first one, Tobe Hooper. I just recently saw that one. I love the practical effects once again, but
I don't know.
Lots of screaming. There's 2, though, you probably saw. There's the remake, the original.
That's probably what I'm thinking of.
No, but then they did another one, remember, where she runs to a carnival, and before she gets there, he grabs her. It's got the chick from...
You lost me.
Give me a second.
Pass.
Remember... Okay, it's just called Texas Chainsaw, and it's got Alexandra Daddario.
Did we see it in theaters? What's the one we saw in theaters like 12 years ago?
Did we see one in theaters?
You might have not been there.
Yeah, I don't think we saw it in theaters.
Oh, I saw it in theaters.
I mean, together. Oh, Bearing the X. Remember the one where his girlfriend's like, she dies and then she comes back as like a zombie and she's like falling apart. And then he meets this new girl.
No.
And this new girl, she's like, choose between me or Jesus. And then because she wanted, and then she's like, he chose Jesus. Do you remember that?
I don't remember any of this.
Okay.
I maybe vaguely remember the chose Jesus thing, but I don't.
Because you were laughing so hard after that.
I'm sure I was. It sounds funny.
Yeah, that's Alexandra Daddario. She was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Mm-hmm. Anyways, I think that's everything I have to say about this ridiculous series.
That's all I have to say about
Hey,
that.
but I am excited for the video game, because if the same people that made the Friday the 13th video game is making the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, I am very excited, because that video game was amazing, and it's devastating that they stopped updating it because of copyright problems, which is stupid.
You get a new Xbox yet?
No, but you need to get one so we can freaking play Friday the 13th, and then we can play some freaking Texas Chainsaw Massacre when it comes out.
Whoop-de-doo.
Because these ones are way better than Dead by Daylight.
You lost me.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Future Hidden Movie Gems. Let us know what other serial killers we should talk about. Peace.
Bye. Peace.